All right, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Connect podcast. Today we have Tim here. Tim is a special guest to me because he helped me get my real estate business, I guess, off the ground. But I'll let you do an introduction to yourself.
Okay. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. My name is Tim Garland. Work with Alliance Escrow. I've been at the company now for about 10 years. Might not be the last job I have, but it's the last escrow job I will ever have, and probably the last job I'll have in the industry. It's just the people are great, the company's great. It feels like home, so that it'll be my last job in the industry. Been in the industry for about 15 years. Started off in the short sale and REO game, selling services, selling training and coaching in that. And then it just kind of morphed into creating an escrow company, creating a marketing company, and then just now I'm just specifically doing escrow. From a personal side, love cycling, love staying active, fishing, golf. Photography is a new thing of mine. You probably see that online a lot now.
Yeah.
It's a passion hobby, I'll call it. Not something I want to get into professionally. It's just super fun for me, and I don't want to. If I turned it into something I wanted to make money with or a side hustle, then expectation changes, and I just want to keep it fun.
Yeah. Sorry. It's awesome having you here. I started off by saying, you helped me with my real estate career.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I think you're probably one of the most known title rep or escrow reps in the industry, right?
I try.
And no, I mean that in a positive way.
Right.
I think you are even gone through a lot of different relationships. I think you're one of the most constant people I continue to call and
Yeah.
give support, advice, and I appreciate it over the years. So
I try to stay in touch with people that I don't work with, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. And I try to stay in touch with enough so you don't forget about me, but not too much to where you say, God, he's calling me again. So I guess it's called professionally persistent, I'd call it.
Yeah, no, and I think it works. And, I have an appreciation for you because you're the one that ultimately told me, like, hey, man, make the jump. And I was working at AT&T trying to do real estate.
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation. You're like, man, you got all the skills to do this. Why don't you, go all in? And ultimately, that's what happened and lead me here. And so...
Well, we got to give somebody else credit for that. What's up, Jason Samard? How are you, buddy? Yeah, so it was an interesting story. You were actually with another company at the time, as an agent for somebody.
Home Solutions Group, yeah. Shout out to Jim at Home Solutions.
Yeah, how you doing, Jim? And then I had, within probably a week of meeting you, I had met this guy online. I watched he was on a podcast, and I watched it. He was first year in his business. He said he did. Do you remember? It was like 100 homes.
Yeah,
it was an obscene number, and I was like, "There's no way that's possible." And I go, "Well, Tim, you know what? It's time for you to apply what you tell people to do."
That was like Oregon or Washington, right?
Vancouver.
Okay.
Vancouver. And I said, "It's time for you to apply what you tell people to do, which is take action, call the guy." So I found him online, Googled his name, called him up, and I was like, "Hey, man, come on, is that real? Are those numbers real? First year you did that many?" And he goes, "Hey, you want my title rep's phone number? What do you want?" Yeah, it's real. Why would I say it otherwise? And then he and I just had a couple of great conversations, and I said, "Hey, man, why don't you come down to San Diego and teach a class for me? I think it's going to be really cool, because there's going to be a lot of agents that go, well, how did this guy do this?" And I said, "I don't even want you to tell me how you did it until you're telling the whole room full of people."
Right.
And he goes, "Okay." So we brought him into town. He spent a week here. He taught classes for 3 straight days, and that's actually where I met you in person before, but I actually got you to come to that, and that was the turning point for you. Mm-hmm. I'll say I was the catalyst behind that, because I kind of put it all together, but I remember you talking to me after those classes were done, and you, like you said earlier, you were on the fence, like, what am I going to do? I feel like my passion is real estate, but I'm over here in Safeville. And you're like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And then it was, I'll be fair, it was a conversation you had with Jason on the phone. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, I get it. You want to stay here and be happy and keep your family happy and, not be the risk taker and be okay and comfortable. But that's not what you wanted to do. And then you ultimately made the decision, and, here you are 10 years later, your own brokerage and doing your thing. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and that's one of the things. Like, you never know what's gonna turn on that light switch.
That's right.
And I definitely at that time and point, I wasn't in a place like I wanted to stay there forever. I just didn't know how to do it. Right, I didn't know how to make that jump. And obviously, the scared aspect of it. Right, and knowing that you could do that, especially if it's something that you love to do, and chasing your passions. Definitely helped me get over that lump or that jump.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's awesome to have you here. Glad that we could do some business again together.
Yeah.
And I know that this month, March, you called me. It's a special month to you.
Yes.
Right?
Very, very, very special.
And that's why another reason we wanted to have you on the podcast and kind of tell a little bit more of your story.
Yeah. So again, thank you for allowing me to speak on this, because it is very, very important to me. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm 55. I'll be 56 years old this month, or this year rather. But March is a very significant month to me because it's my cancer-free month. Cancer-free birthday specifically is March 13th was the day that I had surgery to have cancer removed from my body.
What year?
This is 12 years, so 2013. I had surgery in 2013.
Okay. And so you were like in your mid-40s?
I was 42 years old.
Okay.
So I'll just go back to the very beginning and kind of just take you through the journey in the quickest way possible. Switched health insurance, so I scheduled an appointment with the new doctor just to go out and get a file, get a chart created, get a physical done. And so the doctor, she's like, okay, well, when was your last full physical, blood panels, this, that, the other thing? I'm like, honestly, it's been a long time. And she goes, okay, well, let's do everything. I said, okay. And she looked at me and she goes, how old are you? And I said, 42. And she goes, you're a little bit young for a PSA test, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. Check the box for a PSA test.
PSA test is?
Which is the blood test that shows you what your prostate levels are at.
Okay.
So guys out there, it's a blood test first. We'll get back to that later. So the test goes out, the results come back. I go in and she's like, well, you're 42, your PSA levels are pretty high for somebody at 42 years old. And I said, okay, well, I didn't even know what that meant, right? And she goes, well, you will eventually have prostate cancer. I mean, you just will with the levels where you're at now. And I said, okay, well, am I considered, do I have it now? And she goes, well, we'll see. So she gave me some antibiotics and stuff, thinking maybe it's just inflamed or infected, because those numbers were really high for somebody my age. And then went through that series of medication for like 6 weeks. Came back, retested, nothing changed. She goes, all right, you got to go on to your next step, which was going to see a urologist and having a biopsy done. Well, my dad had experienced an enlarged prostate, not prostate cancer at the time. So I went to the same urologist office that he went to, saw the same doctor, did the biopsy, came back that I had prostate cancer. Mm-hmm. And how that all happened as far as when I was told was really weird in a way, but so the day we went back, I was married at the time. The day we went to go to the office, it was me, my wife, my mom, and my dad, ex-wife. And we walk in the office, we sit down, and they say, okay, Mr. Garland, come on back. And I told them, I said, hey, I want to go by myself. I want to be the first one to know. Mm-hmm. So I go back there, and he's literally chilling like this on the phone. Desk is a mess. And then he goes, have a seat. And I sit down, and he goes, up here. He gets off the phone. He goes, okay, so you have prostate cancer. So what do you want to do? Like that casually. Yeah. And it was weird because it didn't feel like I was just told that news. Yeah. Like, I don't know if that was his intention or if that was his style or whatever, but it worked for me. Because he was like, all right, yeah, so you have prostate cancer, so, what do you think we should do next? And I'm like, I don't know. But I didn't have that, boom, man, I was just told I had cancer. It was kind of weird, but I was like.
He eased into it.
Yeah. It was like, he was just kind of like, oh, well, yeah, you want a Coke? It's like it was very matter of fact, right? But super casual. Yeah. And I was like, well, let me go get my family. And as I'm walking down the hallway, then it kind of hit me. Yeah. It's like, oh, shoot, damn.
Now I have to tell them that.
No, they saw the look on my face. So we went in the back, and he was like, okay, well, you know, these are your options.
Yeah.
And it was surgery to have it removed, do nothing and monitor it, come back every 6 months, because it's not a super aggressive cancer. And he goes, so we can monitor it, come back every 6 months, or we can treat it with, you know, chemo radiation. I was like, and as soon as I heard I had it, I already knew what I wanted to do. I'd done a little research. I tried to stay off the internet, you know, because all that was going to lead to was I'm going to die. You know, following the internet, you're going to go down a rabbit hole, and there's nothing positive going to come out of it.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
trying to keep that positive.
If you stub your toe and you go online and you look, what should I do about a stubbed toe?
It's going to fall off.
It's going to go to cancer at some point. If you go down the rabbit hole, you're going to die.
6 weeks.
So I knew in my head I wanted to have it removed.
Yeah.
I just wanted cancer out of my body. But, you know, I had to talk it over with the wife at the time, and, you know, she wanted to have kids. I was kind of like, she was younger than me and wanted to have kids naturally. So, you know, they said, well, you know, you can go to the clinic and you can freeze, and, you know, the likelihood is not as high as if you try to do it naturally, but it can still happen. So fast forward through all of that, the mental battles were never that bad because they assured me as much as they could that I was going to be fine. Surgery was ultimately, didn't have to be the route, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. Monitoring was never an issue, was never an option because, you know, they did tell me at some point you're going to have to do one of the other two things.
Yeah.
Going to have to get it taken out or going to have to treat it. So that was never an option. So fast forward to, you know, however much further down the line, backpedal a second. So the side effects, the potential long-term side effects of having this prostate removed were incontinence, which means you can't control your bladder. You have to wear a pee bag for the rest of your life. Impotence, which we all know what that means. And then you're definitely going to be sterile. So I had to go to the clinic, did what I had to do in the office there, froze specimen. We tried 3 times. She wasn't able to get pregnant. There's a lot, you know, there's some other things going on, but that was played a major role in her needing to move on with her life because she wanted to have kids naturally. So we ended up getting divorced, which was perfectly fine with me because that's something that I couldn't give her. It was very important to her. And she's moved on with her life. And from what I hear, she's doing quite well and has kids and living a happy life. So I'm happy for her. But the most significant, the hardest part to deal with was, as a man, being impotent. And it was for about 3.5 years. After about 1.5 years, I thought I was done. I mean, I just thought, okay, I'm not even a man anymore. I've got nothing left to offer. And it's just, it was the most mentally tough thing to do. The physical part, it was never an issue. The incontinence part, gone. The sterile part I was okay with. Like I said, I was 42. That was my last shot at kids, was with her. I really didn't, not that I didn't want them, but it wasn't something that was super important to me. It was, I have to have them. Right. But the impotence part, my joke of it, to make light of the situation, is in the movie Austin Powers, when he has his mojo taken away, multiply that by 1 million. I mean, I was this big, you know, I felt like I was this tall, didn't want to do much, did the very best I could to just make sure I just stayed the same and kept myself mentally as strong as possible, staying active, doing all the things that I normally did. But in the back of my mind, that just never left the back of my mind. It was never a major distraction in my life. I was able to focus on work. I was still able to be social. I was still able to go to the gym, ride my bike, do all that stuff. But I mean, just as men, that's how we identify ourselves. That's just, you know, we're just like, we're going to conquer, we're going to kill. And that when that's taken away from you, like, I would wish that upon my worst enemies or the people that I can't stand over death all day. It was the biggest, excuse my language, the biggest mind fuck of all time. And just don't know what happened, don't know how, don't know why, don't care. All of a sudden, started working again. and it fucking freaked me out. It was weird, and I was like, "Holy shit, awesome!" And because I went through a process of
Is that like your hormone levels, like testosterone?
testosterone. Well, no. So when they tell you the reason why you may or may not function again in that way, why you might be impotent, is because they have to sever nerves. They have to surgically cut nerves, like
Yeah.
the ones that
disconnect.
Yeah, they disconnect nerves. That cause that's
So
what causes.
naturally, you gained it back. I mean, there was
So-
no surgery to put it back together.
No, so what they do is that they sever the nerves to get to the prostate. They take the prostate out and they reconnect the nerve surgically.
Okay.
So you have to hope that they don't scar.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
And with nerves, there's no telling.
yeah, no, they're either going to be okay or they're not. So you just have to hope that they don't scar. So in reality, you're at the mercy of however your body heals. The skill of your surgeon matters, and how your body heals matters. But at the end of the day, it's out of your control. And so some guys get it back in 6 months. Some guys never get it back. It took me 3.5 years.
Wow.
But I went through the process of trying the medications and all that, and it just, the doses as needed, just raging headaches. And it didn't work.
Yeah.
Probably because I was having headaches. I don't know. But then,
Yeah, and it's a huge stressor too, right? And
Yeah.
like just adding on
Yeah.
medication outside,
Yeah.
it's all of it is just like
it's all mental. Like, it was so brutal mentally. And so years go by and just kind of we're trying to figure things out. And then it starts to work and everything's fine. Like, I'm probably functioning as normal as a normal 55-year-old guy. And then I'm going to say about 2 years ago, talking to my doctor, and he goes, "You know what? Do you ever have your testosterone levels checked?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "Let's do that." And I said, "Okay." So we check them, and then I come back in for the results, and he goes, "Are you tired all the time?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "So tell me what your normal day. Wake up at 5, walk my dog for an hour, do my normal morning routine, go to work, come home, go to the gym, hang out, walk the dog again, repeat, rinse and repeat, right?" And he goes, "Take naps?" "Never. I can't. If I take a nap during the day, my sleep patterns at night are all messed up." "No, I mean, randomly, yes, but normally, no." And he goes, "Oh." Because I'm about to change your life. I go, "Okay, how?" He goes, "You don't have any testosterone in your body." I go, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you should have between 400 and 600 at all times."
Wow.
And I go, "Okay, cool." And I go, "What's mine?" He goes, 90.
Shit.
And I go, "Maybe that had something to do with all of this." He goes, "Well, maybe, but more than likely, no." That was just the surgery part of it. But, it did certainly have something to do with it. I'm like, fuck, why did we wait so long? But then, dude, it was so crazy. He's like, we're going to put you on testosterone injections, but we have to figure out what levels, how much and how often, because we don't want it doing this, right? We want it, it's always going to fluctuate. Injection day, really high, and then it's going to slowly go. "So let's just find the proper levels and everything." He goes, "So, try not to work out, try not to do a whole lot, because we want your body to naturally go through this process to see what we need to do." And he goes, "Okay." I said, "Okay." So it's probably like 4 weeks we were playing around with, and I was getting tested every week. So finally we got it to where we wanted it. And he goes, "So how do you feel?" And I go, I never was a napper or anything like that before. And you told me not to work out, so I don't know strength-wise or anything. So I don't know what I go, "But," yeah. And I go, "But,"
dude, unleash me.
Yeah. And I go, "But I do feel leaner." And he goes, "You're not. So I didn't want you doing anything. You look exactly the same." He goes, "You said you feel something, right?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You have testosterone in your body now." So now it's like, "Ooh, can I get more?" I literally I have to go see him every 6 months still, because I still get my PSA levels checked and my testosterone checked. Testosterone is once a year. PSA is every 6 months. But every time I go see him, he says, "Hey, can you give me some more?"
And is the feeling of getting some testosterone, is it pretty immediate? Like, do you feel?
I didn't know what I was feeling. Like I said I felt leaner, but what does that feel like?
Right.
I didn't look any different. I could look at myself in the mirror and not see any different. but I felt it.
And you've been on the testosterone for how
Been
long?
over 2 years now.
Since then, have you seen a difference in performance?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I know you're a big biker.
Cycling, I feel it. I feel it in my legs that I feel better. But cycling's all about how much weight you're carrying. I'm 15 pounds over right now
Okay.
than where I'd like
So
to
you're
be.
getting hit?
Yeah, but I mean but strength, like getting back in the gym, and you know, COVID messed everybody up with their workout routines, and so I never got back into it like I was pre-COVID. I'm trying to get there again now. But when I went back to weight training after I got back on testosterone, I went back to the gym and I started training again, and I was shocked how quickly
Like the muscle.
the strength came back. Like, you know, back
memory.
pre-COVID when I was working out all the time, I mean, I could do 100-pound dumbbells on an incline press and do 10 reps, but I never wanted to go above that. There was no reason. Yeah. It's like, God, I wonder how long it's going to take me to get there. That took me like a month.
Wow.
Like I was grabbing 75s right out the gate, and it was like, wow, weird. So I can see how people get addicted to that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding when I tell you, I ask him every time I see him, can I have more? I ask, because maybe one day he says yes. I don't know. But it is in the very beginning when I was on it, it was interesting having to give myself injections. It was weird.
So do you self-administer it continuously?
Every Monday. Well, sometimes I forget on Mondays, but every week, yes.
And so going back to your story, this is 12 years.
Cancer-free. Well, they say cancer-free after 10, but I've had zero detection of PSA since, 6 weeks after my surgery. So May, March, April, since April of 2013.
I mean, it's awesome. It's a miracle, right? I mean,
It is.
And you have to think early prevention, maybe the timing of your transfer.
So here will be my public service announcement out of all of it, and I'll do my best to continue to look at the camera while I say this. But I honestly don't know when. Maybe I would have gone at some point because of my dad's medical history, because he had an enlarged prostate, so that might have pushed me to go get tested sooner. But I was 42, and even the doctor said it. She goes, "You're a little young for this test, but let's do it anyway."
Yeah.
Had that not happened, I don't know when I would have gone and had that test. And so not knowing how much more would it have progressed by the time I had that test? Would it have been too late? Who knows? Because I don't know when I would have gone. And they told me that, my urologist told me that at the PSA level I was at, and I don't know the number, and I'm surprised I don't, but he said it would probably have been detectable 5 years prior.
Wow.
Because of where the levels were.
That's crazy.
So this is my PSA public service announcement section of this podcast is early detection, like you said, is very key. Go get, it's a blood test, guys. It's a blood test. It's a needle prick in your arm, just like you're giving blood for anything else. Most guys don't go, and when they hear about it, they go, yeah, whatever, because they think it's a finger in your butt.
Like the colonoscopy or something.
That's a different ballgame. Yeah. But they think that you're going to go to the doctor's office, they're going to put a glove on, put Vaseline on the finger, and shove it up your butt, and that's a prostate exam.
Yeah.
It is, but it's a blood test first.
Yeah.
Then, if the blood test comes back to a certain level, then you want them to check it with the finger, because if they feel something, then it's advanced.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, early detection, it's a blood test. So don't be worried about that. To any guy out there that's over 40, they say 50, why not? Why wait? I was 42. Everybody out there that knows people in their lives that they care about that are 40 plus men, ask them if they've ever been checked. If they haven't, ask them to go, because you care about them and you love them and you want them to be around, and early detection is key. So that's if nothing else comes out of this, and it's why I tell my story as openly and as honestly and as often as possible, is because there's no reason to wait. Another joke that I tell when I'm talking to people like this is, if you could put me at the 50-yard line of the Super Bowl, you could bend me over and shove a baseball bat up my butt if it was going to tell me that I was going to have cancer or not at 42 years old.
Yeah, and I think, your story hits close to home for a lot of people, right? I know Javi's dad recently went through similar.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're telling his story. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
he's a little bit older
he's
than you,
older,
but he, successfully went through prostate surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Was on the mend. Super active guy. He kind of reminds me of you. He's out there, running 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
And he's traveling the world now, and he's enjoying
Yeah,
life,
this is
so.
like bounce back.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
surgery was like 6 months ago, right?
I think it was a little longer than that.
Did he have
but
his
it's-
prostate taken out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know exactly everything I'm telling you makes perfect sense
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but not only that, but I mean close to home because, a lot of other families and people go through that,
Mhm.
and we're at an age now where it's like
You're getting
I'm
close.
gonna be 40, So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 40 this year, so it's like
You
better-
guys,
better
and I
go-
know you've got a family, and I know, so it's important, make the appointment when you're free on your 40th birthday. Screw it.
I'll do it before. I mean,
Yeah, just go and get tested.
I have to stick around for a while.
Exactly,
so-
and the amount of people that I've shared my story with, even the most and random of situations, it's just important for that because I never fought cancer. No, I never had any signs or symptoms or nothing. It was literally just by the luck of that doctor saying, "Let's do that." That's how I found out.
Right.
But the amount of times that I've done what I'm doing right now on a podcast or just talking to somebody or speaking, I mean, the first time I ever spoke in front of a real estate caravan, I told this story. I literally stood up in front of the room and I had all my escrow stuff prepared, handed it out to everybody. And I looked in the room, there's 4 other escrow companies there, title reps, all this. And I stood up in front of the room and the very first thing I said was, I had all this real estate stuff prepared, as you can see. I said, but look, you guys are all going to work with whoever you want to work with for whatever reasons. There's 4 other escrow companies here right now. Alton's awesome. She's awesome. He's awesome. Whatever. You guys are going to work with whoever. I go, but none of it fucking matters if we're not here.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to talk real estate. I'm going to talk life. And they were like, whoa, where's this guy going with this? And I still have people from that day that still come up to me and say, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And I've had people that have gone and got tested because of the story that I've told. And they say, thank you. My dad ended up having an elevated PSA level. So now he's monitoring it. Now he's doing this and that. That's why I tell this, because I was never sick. So I never had to fight for my life. I never had to fight to get through all this. I found it, I handled it and got done with it. And so that's why I tell my story, and that's why it's important for me to do this, because that me sharing is what I feel I owe for getting through it as easy as I did.
Yeah, and ultimately, life's not about selling, your brand, your service. It's about building a connection and being able to extend and help impact as many people's lives, positively as you can.
And I try to do it as much as I can. Like I custom ordered my bike that I have. I custom ordered it, had it painted in prostate cancer blue, and on a piece of the bike it says "fuck cancer." And people are like, "Wow, that's a really cool color blue." I said, "Well, the bike's got a big story. Do you want to hear it?" And so I tell my story around my bike rides all the time.
Awesome.
It's just what I have. It's what I feel I should do based on what I went through.
Yes, and tell us a little bit about your shirt.
Oh, yeah, everybody hears that, but then I was at this store. It's called LSKD. It's a worldwide brand, but it's here in California now. Just happens to be something I stumbled upon, and I went there to go check out their shirts. And actually, I did a photo shoot with a girl that's one of their brand ambassadors, and then she said, "Go check out the store and just, mention that you worked with me, and they'll give you a discount." And I went and I saw this shirt.
And it talked to you.
And they talked to me, so I bought a few of them and gave them away to a couple friends.
Awesome, man.
Yep.
I love it.
And we can all do that. Just one little thing every day, and I take it, into my work, just as much as my personal life, because just like I met you and talked to you, and do whatever I can to help you in your business, I try to do that as much as I possibly can elsewhere.
Yeah, that's something like I posted actually that this morning. Do something with do something good with no expectation.
Yeah.
Right. If we're living our life, continuously trying to help people, and that stemmed from a conversation I had with Russ on Wednesday. But you never know, like, how you're gonna change someone's life and how you're gonna affect it, and like really it becomes who you are, right? And I have a lot of thanks for you for helping me get to where I'm at in my position. Hoping we could give back and help you with some escrows.
Yeah, well, we took care of that already. But you know, I want to say, I can't remember where I heard the phrase, but being me doing the things that I do, I'll tell one really quick story. I met the coffee shop that I go to all the time. There was this girl that used to come in there. You could tell she was a creative, tattoos, makeup, but she had the coolest pit bull. And so I said, "Can I pet your dog?" And that's how our conversation started. And the dog's name was Mr. Lucky. And then, you know, sat down, hi, sit down at the same table, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Then it was like, "What do you do?" Excuse me. She goes, "Well, I used to teach music." "Oh, what do you mean you used to?" He goes, "Well, I used to teach music to people in recovery, men in recovery at VVSD, which, you know, Vietnam veterans." I go, "Oh, that's weird. So tell me more about that." She goes, "Well, I teach these guys how to to read, write, and play classical guitar." I'm like, "Oh, that's weird." I go, why did you used to do that?" And she goes, "Oh, they cut funding to pay for the program." I go, "They cut something like that? I mean, that's amazing." And she told me some stories about these guys. I'm like, "Wow." And they're playing classical guitar. She goes, "It's amazing." And I go, what? Tell me more. And she's like, "Yeah, so, you know, I teach them how to read, write, and play. Then after 12 weeks, I give them a guitar and a case, and then we do a little concert for everybody that lives there." I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing. Why would they cut that?" So made a couple phone calls, did a little research, and found out why. And it was just long story. That's a long story, a part of it. But she goes, "Yeah, I don't have the money to give my last graduating class their guitars and let them do their show." I'm like, "Damn, that sucks." I go, "Well, where do you buy the guitars from?" And she told me, and I go, "Nah, that's not gonna happen again." I go, "How much are they? Where you get them from?" She goes, "Like $150 for the guitar and the just entry-level guitar and case." I'm like, "Yeah, so you need 12 of them, huh? So $1,500. And I go, "All right, don't worry about the guitars. I'll handle that for you." She goes, "What?" I go, "Yeah, just don't worry about it." I go, "What's the name of the guitar?" And so she told me. I went online and I called the number that was attached to that brand, and the guy answered the phone out of LA, and he goes, I told him the story, and he goes, "That's amazing." He goes, "I'd love to give you the guitars, but I can't, but I'll give them to you for $50 with the case." And I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yep." And I said, "Okay, cool. What do I need to do?" And he goes, She just has to come get them." Done. Hung up the phone, called a couple of buddies, still raised her $1,500 in like an hour and a half, told her to go pick up the guitars. She came back, gave her the balance of the money and said, "You do what you need to do with that." And she gave them back, and she was able to do her little show. So that's the kind of shit that makes me, you could see my energy change talking about it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's just and people say, "Why do you do shit like that?" And I say it's because I'm selfish. And that people have a difficult time on the surface level wrapping their head around that. And I go, "But you have no idea how good that makes me feel."
That you changed it.
That I made that happen.
Life.
Exactly. And I do that, and that's kind of like what I try to look at that with what I do in work. If I can help you, help another family, if I can help you guys do whatever it is you need help with, it gives me energy, it makes me happy, and I love the way that makes me feel.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's the point, right? Like, you know us as Connect, or even before Home Solutions Group, but every year we do the turkey drive.
Yep.
We do Easter egg hunts. We do a lot of stuff for the community, toy drives.
Yeah.
You've helped. You've donated some
Yeah.
turkeys along the way.
Yep.
And really, and this is a conversation I was having this week too, is like, when I do that stuff, it's not, I'm not expecting anything out of it.
No.
Right? Like, I do it because I'm in a position where I can.
Exactly.
And I want to give back to my community. Does it make the brand look better? Sure.
That's a byproduct of it, though. That's not the motivation.
That's not the
why.
motivation.
That's not the why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep doing it, right?
Yep.
Today I have a meeting with the pastor from a church, and we're gonna talk about incorporating our Easter egg hunt with them, and if that works. But it is something that's gonna happen regardless. So be ready for the Easter egg hunt.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. You just got. And if it's something like, and you've done the turkey drive now for at least 8 years.
9 years.
9 years. See, I was close.
Yeah.
And the fact that you continue to do it shows that's the reason why you're doing it, is to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
If you would have done it for 3 years and stopped and said, we didn't get anything out of that. We didn't get a single.
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't get a single deal out of that. So why would we keep doing it? Because that's not why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Has it benefited your business? Probably. Maybe, but not so much that you've noticed.
Yeah, there's not a noticeable difference.
Like nobody's called you and said, "Oh, you brought these people to Turkey. That's awesome. I saw the video. I want you to be my realtor." It'll happen.
But yeah, I mean, that's just the person I am.
Right.
And a person that I want to, like, all of my agents to be. We want to be able to give back to our community.
Yep.
Without our community, we're nothing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
continue to give back to our community. Continue to, be able to bless people with,
Absolutely.
needs. And honestly, like the last 3 years, COVID was very hard. Trying to even get the turkeys, right? So. Yep. Trying to get the turkeys. Now we're up to a level of turkeys where it's like where do you put 300 turkeys?
Right.
And we're at this place where it's like what are we doing, right? And we just continue to do it, but we're growing it, and honestly,
that's a quality problem.
Yeah, it is.
That's a quality problem. You built something that's growing at a pace that it's not that it's not manageable, but it's like, ooh, we got to be a little bit more prepared this year because it's going to be more than 300 this year.
And just, taking a step back from that, what you said, most of the problems that I have in my life are quality problems, right? They're good problems to have,
yeah.
And I'm blessed, right? And and definitely, I thank you for putting me in that position.
No problem.
Talking about escrows, I wanted to talk about escrows a little bit because
we'll talk about work.
We're in a. Okay, let's talk about real estate.
There you go.
This is real estate
there we
podcast,
go.
Right?
There we go.
You own your own real estate?
I don't.
No.
I have not bought since my divorce.
Okay.
Because where I live, I will eventually for sure. But where I live right now, my rent's so cheap, I'm just saving money.
Yeah.
Because the company that I work for, we bought the building that I live in, and then renovated it really quick. I moved into one of the units, and then the company sold it. I'd say in less than 6 months from that, because there's a guy in La Mesa that owns a ton of rental property, and he saw the remodel that we did, and he got a hold of the owner indirectly, like just, the owners of my company called me one day and said, "Hey, Tim, we're selling the building." I'm like, "Damn, I thought this was going to be your first buy and hold." He goes, "Well, the saying, offer we couldn't refuse." I go, "Yep." He goes, "That's what happened." He goes, "But don't worry." I had my rent was in the contract for 5 years. They couldn't raise it for 5 years. So.
Nice.
And then, I'm paying market, but where I live and what we have, it just makes sense for me to stay there. It's kind of like what we were talking about. We were walking this property.
What we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Walking around this building, seeing like all the stuff amenities that they have to offer.
If you finance the property in this building, you're probably looking at a minimum of $7,000 a month.
7 to 10
Yeah.
to 12,000, depending on what floor you're on,
Yeah.
right?
Depending on the unit, what floor you're on. Yeah.
Jaman lives in here, 33rd floor, pays $5,500.
Yeah.
Like, you're not getting that deal.
No.
And you're not getting these amenities. We talked about it, like walking around here. A lot of the buildings don't have half of this.
Right.
Which makes it harder to sell real estate, right? Like, what are we selling? And ultimately, you have to believe in you're paying yourself back,
Yeah.
right? You're paying yourself, and you're setting yourself up for your future.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes buying real estate doesn't work for everybody.
No.
But I am a big believer in buying it for yourself, holding it, multiplying it.
100%. Yeah.
Equity gain, appreciation, those kind of things.
But it takes somebody like you to educate consumers that don't really have any idea. Like, I wish I would have been taught this game when I was in my 20s. When I was in my 30s.
I wish I was taught this game when I was in my 20s.
Exactly. But that's the thing. When you grow up in the surroundings that you grow up in, if that's not taught to you, which it wasn't back then. Like, now it's a thing. Like, I was with one of the builders that I work with, and his mom is a very famous San Diego realtor, but I won't name drop. But she's taking her grandkids around right now. Like, they're like 10 and 12 years old.
I mean, definitely.
And she's getting them involved in like a flip.
Yeah.
Like, they're 10 and 12 years old, and they're learning it. It's crazy. And I mean, I wouldn't have had any interest in at all when I was that age, because I was too into sports. But, as an adult, as a young adult, 21, 22, 25 years old, I wish I would have been taught this game. I mean, who knows where we would all be if we were.
Yeah, it's like you can't look backwards, right?
No.
There's always that house that
Yeah.
you wish you bought.
Yeah. That's part of the
but-
problem too with me and like where I live right now. My rent's so cheap. I'm just saving money waiting for opportunity. But being in the business, as you guys know, it's like, ooh, there's a better deal out there. I know I can find a better deal. Instead, and what do we tell people is like, when's the right time to buy it? Now.
You can.
Now.
Yeah.
Never a bad time. If you can afford it, now's the time. But you know, I tell myself. But honestly, I'm paying such little in rent. It truly doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like you said, it makes sense for some people, their game
Right.
plan, their long-term plan, and that. But ultimately, I feel like real estate is the best way to grow
Yep.
wealth. And I wish I would have known about it in my 20s,
Yep.
right? So I would have started earlier.
Yep.
And now, these kids nowadays, look at Carlos. We have Carlos, he just turned 20, right?
Turn 20, yeah.
Yeah,
This year.
Yeah, so he's an agent.
Right.
He sold 3 properties already,
Nice. Good
right?
for him.
Like, having that jump start on life, like, would have been crazy for me.
Especially, I mean, being 20 in this game and having sold 3 properties already, what he has seen is priceless. You can't coach that. You can't teach that. He's experienced it. He's like, damn, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's real.
I made this money doing this, but I sold these homes. I need to keep doing this so I can buy those homes
Yeah.
and just build and build and build and build.
I think the hardest part of it right now, and this is something that I wanted to bring up, and probably you've seen, just the volume.
Yeah.
Volume is down, right? It's hurting a lot of people across the board, especially agents like Carlos, or newer agents, or
Yeah.
agents that don't have that consistent flow of business, and we're losing a lot of agents.
That's not a bad thing.
I mean, I think a part of what you say is right, and
Yeah.
part of it is hurts the industry, right? Like, it hurts. It's hard to be a real estate agent.
It's very hard. It's always hard. Even when the market was great, it's still hard.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's ballpark like 24,000 licenses in San Diego County. That many. But there's only a few hundred that produce. And by produce, I mean selling more than a house a year.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers are,
More than 3 houses.
yeah, it's a very small percentage of those 22 to 24,000. It's not easy. But when you look at the people that do well, they've either been at it for a long time and have brand and reputation and they still work, or the newer ones they're working. Like the story we were talking about before we turned on the cameras was newer agent, probably 22, 23 years old. He's the son of an active realtor, but you know how that goes sometimes. Sometimes son doesn't want to learn from dad, so there's that friction. So I met with father and son and kind of had really good conversation with them and told the son, hey, these are some things that you may want to work on and this and that. And they both, father and son, agreed, and son was all in. And then I just talked to him 2 days ago. It's been 6 months, and checked in with him. How you doing? And he was busy trying to figure out what he's going to do to be busy to sell a house. And I go, how long have you been doing that? I go, let me guess. You did exactly what I just said, trying to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and then you end up not doing anything. And it's been 6 months. He goes, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I did.
I do think it is a generational thing. I think, with the younger generation, they have so much access to information and video and YouTube and all these things that they overanalyze everything.
And they don't
and
do.
They get stuck, right?
And they don't do.
Paralysis, yeah.
And they don't do.
Whereas, like, if you jump into a situation, you do it, you learn it, you fail, right? The failing part is one of those parts that are, like, definitely needed to get back on the horse and try again. And
Look about when you were a little kid and you needed to learn how to ride a bike. You didn't sit there and look at the bike.
I think one of the things that 24,000 agents, 40,000 agents like 2 years ago, right? Like, we're dropping in agents. I think one of the things that they should do is make the entry level a little bit harder to get
Way
your
harder.
license. Yes,
Way harder.
Because it's very easy to get your real estate license. But there's a lot of people that don't do business, like you said.
Right. They get the license because
I
they
think it's like 30% of the agents are doing all of the business.
Probably less than that. Probably less than that.
And with the volume so low, I'm sure you guys see it. It hurts escrow companies. It hurts title companies. It hurts
Everything.
It hurts everything. It hurts the whole industry,
Yep.
right? And one thing I used to tell my clients is, like, if you didn't get that house, there's a chance that the people will cancel. and like one of every 5 escrows will cancel.
That's about right.
I think we're at a point right now where it's like 1 of every 3 escrows cancel.
Not quite that high,
No?
but close.
Yeah.
It's more than it was, but not that low.
Yeah.
So doing what I do for work, when I'm calculating how many escrows do I need to open, how many are going to close, how much revenue is going to generate for as far as personally and company wide, I do it based off of 85% close ratio.
Currently.
No, that's what I do it for. Now it's probably 70.
70. Okay. I was like at 67. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would, and there's a lot of reasons for that, right?
Yeah.
Number one, I think buyers and sellers have a big divide right now.
Yep.
What's the capable and like what its expectations.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have expectations set a lot closer together.
Yeah.
From both sides, buyer
Yeah.
side and seller side. Buyers, want the whole world, and sellers want the whole world. And when that happens, when that gap is that wide,
Yep.
we lose a lot of business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that I'm constantly working on with both sides, buyers and sellers. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a real life expectation. This is what's going on right now. If you guys don't give this credit, or if you guys do give this
Yeah.
credit, like, you know what I mean? This is what's gonna make or break a deal.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, comes with experience and education of your client.
Yep. Yep.
But it's crazy to talk this out loud with you and seeing that it's actually true, because I see it. I don't see it from the inside out, but I see it from the outside in.
I mean, I see, I look at the MLS every morning and I see how many properties. So this morning I looked at the MLS from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see how many houses hit the market yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it was 100 and, actually, now that I blew it, it's 100 and something. Take a guess, how many houses do you think hit the MLS yesterday? And it's all of San Diego County.
Is it like specific or?
I know exactly how many it is. How many houses do you think went on the MLS yesterday?
Like 140.
128. Pre-COVID, when we had the normal, this is our new normal, but that normal, it was over 200. Every Thursday had over 200. Thursday's still the highest day.
Yeah.
Because, strategically put them on open houses, fresh for the weekend, new listings, whatever. But that used to be way over 200 every single Thursday.
That goes back to like the paper book days, right?
No. This is pre-COVID.
No,
Just
I'm saying,
pre-COVID.
like listing houses on Thursday goes back to paper book.
Oh, yeah. That method, yes. But so now Thursday's still the busiest day, but I haven't seen one hit 200 in a long, long time.
But we have seen an uptick.
Definitely,
in
inventory's
volume.
picking up. Inventory's picking up for
also
sure.
volume, right? There's been a little bit more escrows happening.
Pending's not keeping up with inventory, but it's better than it was.
So one thing that we do every week, and like kind of pride ourselves on it, is actually giving a market update
Market
every
data.
week. Right?
Yep.
We try to tell like, hey, this is what's going on this week, and here's a little something to do about it.
Yeah.
Right? Something that I've noticed this week, the higher price places, 1 million, 1.2 million, you're not seeing them go into escrow. You're kind of seeing them sit, and the lower price places are the ones that are going into escrow.
I'm not disagreeing, but I would say that over 2 million is sitting and not going into escrow faster. Like it's crazy, like where pockets of real estate are in San Diego that are over $1 million now.
Everything.
Everything
above the 8 is over $1 million.
Yeah, one of my best clients he's really, really busy agent in LA Garden, San Carlos, Del Cerro. And I was talking to him not that long ago, and I go, dude, did you ever think in your real estate career that every single house you sell in your farm would be over $1 million? It's like, absolutely not, but I freaking love it. But his stuff's on the market for less than a month.
Yeah.
But, so the 1.12s, not really, but I'd say once you get maybe 1.5 or higher, sits longer. But I'm still a believer, and I could be right or wrong, but from where I sit and what I do, you get a house that's move-in ready, priced right, in a good neighborhood, it's going to move as fast as it should.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That's always going to be the case. But like you stated earlier, expectations from both sides need to be realistic. Like I just saw one that I personally went and saw. This was a friend of mine's remodel, and beautiful looking, right? But then I went and saw it. I was like, yeah, it still looks good. But now that I've seen it, I have a pretty good understanding why you haven't seen a single offer for it. And then, we sat down and we talked about it, and they go, well, this is what I think if I was an agent or if I was a potential buyer, this is what I would think. Yeah. And I told him, and he goes, okay, that's pretty consistent with what we've been told from other people. And then I gave him a suggestion of what I would do, and then I had another agent buddy with me, just from a consultative position. He was with me that day we went and looked at it. He goes, yeah, that sounds about right. And they did it and sold in 4 days. Yeah. They just priced it right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with pricing. Right?
Yeah.
I would say that something we pride ourselves on, like the last 3 listings that we have gone into escrow the first weekend.
Yeah.
Right? So it really does have to come down to pricing, your marketing strategy,
yeah.
getting people through the home, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're not getting showings, you're not going to sell it.
Nope.
Right. So
those days are gone.
Yeah, and so like we have an escrow right now, Mendocino.
Uh-huh.
You guys are helping us with that. There's still 3 places in there that are active on the market. We listed after all of them, put in escrow, and we're gonna close, and they're still active, right? So it really has to do with what you said, pricing.
Yeah.
Making sure that the house is presentable, right?
Yeah.
Talking to your sellers and saying, hey, look, if this needs to be fixed, let's do this. So, you're ready.
I've got an idea for you when Mendocino closes, but we won't talk about that on camera.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Spill all the secrets.
We give out all the secrets, except for the ones Tim gives us.
But yeah, it's we're in an interesting phase for sure. I mean, it's always interesting, but talking to as many agents as I do, and they're
affordability.
The one that I'm getting a lot of, because I speak to the buyer's agents in our transactions a lot, and you kind of just ask them what do you think your pulse of the market is? What do you think? What do you feel? And it's like, oh, affordability and interest rate. Okay, and then
Out of our control.
Yeah, so I was talking to one agent specifically, and I go, what do you have in your pipeline right now? She goes, well, I got 2 buyers, they're pre-approved, and they're this and this and that and that. And I'm like, okay, well, why aren't you showing them homes? She's like, they're just not ready. And I go, well, you said you had them pre-approved for a certain number. She goes, yeah, but they're worried about the interest rate. And this is just my thought. I could be wrong. I could be completely misspeaking, but this is just my opinion. So I told her, I said, well, is that what they can afford? Or is that what they're pre-approved for? Right. And she's like, what do you mean? And I go, well, is $3,500 stretching them? Like, oh no, if something happens, we can't afford the house at $3,500. If I get my hours cut by 4 hours a week, we're screwed, right? Or is $3,500 just what they got approved for because of what they submitted paperwork-wise? Mm-hmm. Maybe they got a rich uncle that's gonna put half the price of the house down. You need to ask them what can they afford versus what they're pre-approved for. I said, is $3,500 their max and that's got them stretched, or is $3,500 what they're pre-approved for? Maybe they can afford $5,000.
Yeah.
Right? And then I said, so she goes, yeah, but their interest rate's going to be like 6.5 or like close to 7. I go, can they afford $3,500? Can they afford $5,000? Because either way, it doesn't matter what the interest rate if they can afford the payment.
Yeah.
I go, I don't want to say it's a blessing because that sounds weird, but maybe it's a good thing that it's 6.5 now and they can afford $5,000. Are we going to see 8 before we see 5.5? I don't know. Nobody knows. But if, the bottom line is if they're looking now at 6.5, we'll call it at the time, and the interest rates run away from them, now they're looking at, oh, now we're really screwed because of the interest rate, but there's still affordability, still $5,000 a month. Yeah. Right? Now, can they get more or less house in either direction? Yeah, a little bit. But get them in a house if that's what they really want to do. And then like 3 or 4 days later, she called me. She goes, oh my God, I can't believe I had that conversation with them. Now I'm showing them homes. Yeah. Like it's just you.
Well, yeah, that's something that we always preach is affordability and not, rate, or because this rate we can't control. We could control your affordability. Yeah. Right? And I think, having that conversation with your clients, again, setting the expectations. Yeah. I feel like there's so many people that want to jump from level 0 to level 100. Yep. And in this market, it's not the thing to do, right? It's get in where you can, get in where you fit in, whether that's like getting you a condo or whatever that means on paper, affordability-wise to you, right? Because that's going to help you get to the next level. When rates do go down, you have all this equity in your house, you could get the house then, right? Yep. and just making those stepping stones along the way.
And then a lot of real estate's so transactional, and there are a lot of people that run their business transactionally that they might be afraid to risk getting a transaction done.
Energy.
Well, they might say, okay, well, maybe this isn't. There are going to be people that are probably afraid to say maybe now is not the right time, based on what you're telling me. Yes, you're pre-approved for this. Yes, we could put you in a condo, but you really don't want it. I don't want to put you in something that 6 months from now you're going to go, God, that guy made me buy this house.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. Da. So maybe now isn't the right time, even though now is the right time, right? But maybe it's not right for them in the moment. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they say, hey, let's just wait 6 months or whatever. There's going to be people that are afraid to lose that commission, right? They're going to go, oh no, we need to make them buy, right? And I don't think any of us want to put anybody in that position. But it's a transactional business. It's a commission-only situation, and agents need to be selling homes for Tim to be doing escrows. But it still has to be done in the right way.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I mean, we never want to have any buyer feel like pressured into any situation. And again, I pride myself on that. I feel like I've put in all my buyers in great situations.
Absolutely.
And if you look over the history of my career, I've done nothing but make people money, which is great. And it's almost a scary time right now where it's like, what happens if the market does change and then you're not being able to tell that story? But
that's not your job.
But ultimately you want that, right?
You want that as a track record.
Yeah.
So they're going to be forever clients. But like you said, there's certain things we can't control. If the market,
these interest rates haven't been.
if the market runs away from us, there's nothing we can do about it. If we're one piece of bad news from the market going to nothing.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so many people that are just on the wait and see, because there's a lot that's.
There's just a lot happening in the world.
Right now. There's a lot of unknown.
Wait and see's some people's strategy that wait and see is going to cost them later. Then again, we can't control that. We're going to wait and see what's going to happen, and then some people are going to say, yes, I'm so glad we waited. And then there's going to be people saying, fuck, I wish we wouldn't have waited.
Yeah.
Nothing we can do about that,
Yeah, that's so true.
Yep.
It's crazy.
So question for you, both of you. What would you say is the number one thing or a few things that you think would be the best things for a newer agent or any agent for that matter to be consistent and disciplined at?
I think it's find what you love about the industry.
Okay.
Me personally, I like working with buyers. Like I like showing homes. I like being in homes. I like out seeing homes. Right. Like find the things that you like to do with it and be consistent on it. Right.
Bro, yeah.
Also, you have to put yourself out there for people to know that do what you do, and that could mean anything.
Yeah.
Whether that's escrow, agents, or some other company, whatever you're doing, like you have to announce that and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And that could be social media, door knocking, picking up the phone and calling people, writing letters to people. Like announce it and celebrate it, because if you're not doing that constantly, then people don't know. And I'm big on celebrating all my wins, and because people want to be around winners.
Yes.
Right. If you're doing nothing and telling nobody about it, you're gonna have zero business. If you're doing a lot and telling everybody about it and celebrating it, even if you're doing a little and celebrating it, you're more likely to attract another client.
Yep. So interesting you say celebrating wins. I was helping a friend get a job, and I was part of the interview process because I knew the company that she was interviewing with. And it was interesting. She came in and flipped it. She was interviewing them. It was awesome to watch. And she asked them, what do you guys do to celebrate your wins? And I thought that was they didn't have an answer. Because they were like, well, we don't. We just keep working. Like, no, you have to.
Yeah, you have to.
If you set a goal, whatever it is, I mean, if you have a daily goal of making 25 phone calls, at the end of the 25 phone calls, at least pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
Say, I just won, because it's still going to be monotonous and it's still going to be a grind. But, you still have to celebrate along the way. Whatever it is, you know, set goals for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, whatever. And when you hit them, do something. You know, attach something to it. You know, it doesn't have to be a commission check every time. It doesn't have to be. Yes, setting appointments is nice, but maybe your goal is a certain number of appointments. But celebrate that and celebrate it with other people. Like you said, people want to be around winners. And if you're constantly celebrating, they're going to go, wow, why is that guy celebrating all the time? What's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing something right.
Yeah, and you know, obviously the bigger wins are going to be bigger celebrations, but even the littlest celebrations still feel good.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it's motivation to keep yourself going,
Yeah.
you know, for the next day. And
Yeah, because if you just go,
try
okay,
to replicate
yeah,
that.
I'm going to make 25 phone calls this week. That means I'm going to make 100. I mean, today, and 5 days a week. So I'm going to make 125 phone calls for the week. Whether you celebrate it daily or celebrate it weekly, if you hit it, do something.
Yeah.
You know, even the littlest thing. Buy yourself something better for lunch that day, or on that Friday if you hit it. But celebrate it, because otherwise, it will eventually, and it probably still does to a degree. It's going to turn into, fuck, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the difficult part about of what we all do. Like none of it's.
Especially commission-based jobs.
Yeah, I don't I was just talking to Justin about this yesterday. What we do, and it's going to sound weird. What we do is not hard work. It's work. Sitting on the phone is not hard to do. It just sucks doing it until you do it. Like when I happened to be talking to Justin, I was on the phone. He was on his AirPods, but he was digging a footing. I go, what you're doing is hard work. Talking on the phone isn't hard. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
And you don't see, like, he's digging a footing, physical labor. That's hard work. I used to hang doors and cabinets for a living. That's hard work. But the ironic part is I'd much rather be physically tired than mentally tired. Being mentally drained, it's brutal.
Yeah, it is.
But
I've done it.
but it's not. And again, to say it's not hard, I just mean it's not physically hard.
right.
It's a different type of hard. And it's work to me. It's worse. Like it's way harder for me to go make 50 phone calls in a day than it would be dig a 30-foot, 2-foot deep footing all day. It's way harder for me.
And you really have to find like what's your motivation, right? Everybody has their own motivation, and being able to give yourself that reward.
Yep.
For me, I have my family, like I have a growing family, gonna be 3 girls.
Yeah.
I have to work and I have to get it done. But on the bigger picture, it's how many people I could positively impact, right? That's always been my goal. That's why I don't do this alone. That's why I have other agents, and I want to teach them how to do it and kind of grow that.
Right.
And that's why we do the community events, right?
Yep.
And
Making
that's why we're doing the podcast, so we could teach some people some stuff, right?
making an impact matters.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
how you positively impact somebody's life. Maybe somebody watches this today and it will be checked their blood levels. And I think that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
And building those connections.
Was that the motivation behind the name?
Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Connect has a story to it. Maybe probably a lot of people don't know, but when I was at San Diego State, I wanted to make a magazine. That was going to be called Connect Magazine. Kind of connect. There's so much you could connect in San Diego,
right,
and building relationships, and it was going to be like lifestyle type magazine. That was like 2009, 2010. We didn't have any funding. I was self-funding everything. We ended up just being like club promoters, kind of like taking photos and doing flyers for clubs and stuff, as we had the talented people to do that.
Right.
So it died, and I've always wanted to own my own business. Found real estate, worked for Jim, learned a lot, and pretty much the whole time I was there, I was managing Home Solutions Group too, right?
Right.
Managing, bringing on and training new agents and stuff. So when I opened my brokerage, I knew I had.
Jim and I had some really good conversations about you.
Yeah.
Really good conversations when he was trying to figure out what he was going to do, but he kind of had a feeling what you were going to do. Yeah, we probably talked about you for 3 or 4 hours, trying to figure out what was going to happen.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He's a good
Jim
dude.
is an awesome guy, and
You still talk to him?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I give him a call every once in a while.
He's
Wish him the best with his vending machines.
Yeah. Every time I talk to that guy, he's putting out another fire.
Yeah.
Every time. I
think
called him and asked him if his dad still had his yacht because I wanted to do a photo shoot on
his
it.
brother has the yacht.
Oh, so he sold his dad gave it to his brother or sold it to him or whatever?
I think so. His brother.
See, whenever I ask about it, he never tells me that it's still in the family. He just says he doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he still has it too.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Now I have to call him again.
Yeah, but I mean, thanks for telling your story.
No worries, man.
Congratulations
Yep.
on the 12 years. That's
Yep.
big.
It's huge. Huge.
Man. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, you're here with us still.
Yeah, and I think I lived life somewhat to its fullest prior to that anyway. But now, again, I never had that why me moment. It was never like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. I just looked at it as like my number was punched for a reason, whether it's because I can deal with it or I could deal with it or I was going to be a storyteller, whatever the case may be. But it did give me a little bit of more of appreciation of every day.
Yeah.
Every day is a blessing. Every day make it as amazing as you can.
Keep doing nice things for people.
Just
Keep helping out other people.
That's right. That's right.
It's gonna come back. Whether you guys.
Let's do this right here.
1% better. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, for helping me launch my career, getting me off that path, and I hope to continue to do business together.
Yeah.
Keep growing, Connect. You have anything off?
No, thanks for sharing your story, man. It like I said, resonated with me personally, and hopefully
we're all gonna go get our blood work done. If you guys want to come, reach out.
Let's do a group thing.
There you go.
It was a great episode. Appreciate having you on. You're welcome back anytime.
Awesome.
Until next week.
Stay connected.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.